following takes place inside the CTU. Events occur in real time. I wanted to start off today with my established guest, Ryan, from the 20 Years of 24 podcast. He is the host, also does the People in Your Neighborhood podcast. I've listened to a few episodes of that. I know you've been great at doing that as well. And you have a lot of other ventures I know you're into. You're studied law. You're a college professor. You've done all kinds of cool things in your life. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this for a while. This is awesome. The reason I even started the Go Tell Someone Network is I had all these friends around that were doing these cool sports related, pop culture related podcasts, and it was like, why don't we just create a hub where everybody can just go there and find something for themselves, right?
Exactly, and I appreciate it. I've been very fortunate. I know for those that don't know, we met through the 24 Universe page on Facebook, and basically got into doing that, and just met and became friends. So I mean, it was awesome. It's a great community. So a couple things. So we're here to talk some 24 today.
Oh, beautiful.
So, yeah, of course. I mean, it's all about some 24. So 24 for me really changed the landscape of television. I mean, when it aired back in 2001, it was just a great, that's a great television series. It was revolutionary in any way. Before that, I actually only watched movies. So it was I was not a fan of television in general. So what?
Really? Not at all?
Not really. No, I mean,
not a lot. Wow.
I watched a lot of comedies, but I've never was into really drama, never anything like that. So what got you personally into 24? Were you a fan from the beginning, or was it something that you got into later?
I was a fan from, I want to say, day half, because I had friends that were telling me, you got to watch this show. It looks really good. It's very well done. And so I decided somewhere around, I want to say January, I think I decided, January of 2002, I dropped in on the show, and it was the Terry, and again, hopefully I'm not ruining anything for you, but Terry running away, and it was amnesia was involved. There was amnesia was definitely involved, and so I dropped in on that episode, and I remember going, "What? Like, I don't get this."
Yeah, that's very much.
I need. So I stopped watching. Well, I stopped watching at that point, and I said, like, clearly, I need to know what's going on before this happens, and so I just said, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to try to jump into the show. There's no reruns. I can't pick it up, so I just waited, and they released the DVD. What we found out through doing the podcast is that the DVD strategy came about because they said when they got greenlit for season 2, they realized people have to know what happened in season 1. So Fox rushed the DVD set out so that people could get hooked on it over the summer.
If not the first show to ever do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Later, and plus DVD was kind of a newer medium. I know it came out in the late 90s. So
the only box set I had on DVD at that point was the X-Files, season 1. And I probably paid $100 for it. Way too much. But anyway. So I waited until it came out, and I went to the local video store, and I rented the first 2 discs, which was the first 8 hours of the show. And I said, all right, let's see if this is any good. I watched 4 episodes on the first disc, and I took it back to the rental place and said, forget it. And I ran to Walmart and I bought it. Because I said 4 episodes in, I knew that I was hooked. But I knew that I had to own this thing. Like, it was already that good. Already, as you said, you're a movie guy. 24 was movie level TV, I'd never seen before.
And that's the point I was making. I got into it, actually. My mom, of all people, she was a fan before me. I did not watch the first season live. I was like, what is this show? She actually asked for Mother's Day, or it was her birthday, one of the two. She asked for the DVD set. To watch again, and I was like, okay, I'll pick up this show. I was actually working at FYE, which is for music, movies, and stuff like that. So I actually picked it up, and I got it for her. And she's like, "Honey, you have to watch this. You have to watch this." I was like, "Okay, I'll watch it." I don't even know Kiefer Sutherland. I've seen him in Lost Boys, seen him in Flatliners. I've seen him in all these great movies.
Right.
I watched it literally, I think, a day and a half. Binge watched it, and then from then on, I watched live. It was an event at my house every single Monday night. But yeah, no, that's a great experience.
Yeah. I would argue it's one of the first truly event series.
Yes.
Where you literally, like, we were the next day, people that were into it were talking about it. And as much as I envy the people that get to binge it now, wherever they can, there was still something about, and I'm going to sound like an old man. There's gray here, but there's something about seeing it week to week and having to wait and having some major cataclysmic thing happen at the end, and then go, well, we're off for 4 weeks, or
yeah, that was the
so frustrating, but it kept me tethered, right? It kept me wanting to know what was going on next. And I'd only ever experienced that with movies, because I am a movie guy too.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first films I saw in the theater. I remember, seeing Popeye in the theater with my parents after school one night. I remember, I have very deep emotions tied into those experiences. And I really believe that film and TV, and music too, have the ability to take us somewhere and help us to at least understand and experience better than we can, right? Yeah. Like it puts us in a good film or TV show puts us in the middle of something, and it helps us to understand kind of what's going on around it. Yeah. Almost virtual entertainment.
And 24 came out. I mean, as we all know, it came out right after 9/11, and I mean that was the show everybody needed at that moment in time. An American hero. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. So that's awesome. So what made you start the 20 Years of 24 podcast? What made you really decide this is something I want to do? This is something an avenue I want to pursue?
Well, it started with the domain, because I generally start everything with the domain. I'll get an idea. I'm to my benefit and to my detriment, I'm an ideas person, and I'm always, we should do that, or we should get into this. I actually have an idea that just came out recently that for the first time in a long time, my wife went, you're onto something. Because I just spitball all the time. I'm like, we should do this, we should do that. And as I get older, I learn which ones not to jump on and which ones to let go, and then which ones have real value. And so it was about, I think 11 years ago, somehow I found John Cassar's email address. And John Cassar is the showrunner for 24, but he's so much more than that. He's the historian. He's he's a lot of the driving force behind 24.
Right.
And so I found his email address, and I just dropped him a note using my legal capacity to some degree to say, hey, I've got this idea. I think I'd purchased, before I even contacted him, I purchased 24convention.com. And so I'm always trying to protect myself before I jump into something. So I contacted John, and I said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I said, I'm in Windsor, which is a border city with Detroit. You're Canadian. There's a lot of Canadians involved in 24. There's a lot of both people on both sides of the border. I want to do an actual convention for the show at the 10-year point. And he got back to me within a day, which was great, saying, hey, that's a great idea. Let's keep talking about this. And we had some conversations back and forth at that time, but at the end of the day, we said, logistically, it's kind of crazy to try to get everybody together. An actor can't guarantee they're not going to be on set, 4 months from now or a year from now. And then just the logistics of it kind of made my head explode. So I decided, okay, I'm going to put this on hold, but I never really let go of that. So then we come up on 20 years. And same thing, 2 years ago-ish, I bought 20yearsof24.com. And then I started to formulate how we could do a physical convention. If we can get some of the actors, if we can get some of the crew. And so I started talking to potential sponsors about doing an event, again, back in my hometown. And then COVID hit. So the physical convention goes out the window, at least for the time being, because now you're adding, again, from a legal standpoint, all these extra restrictions and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I scrapped the physical convention, but then I started looking at the fact that as of last year, everybody knows what Zoom is, right? It's not, Zoom has become like Google, where people, use it as a verb.
Yeah, you should have bought stock on it beforehand.
I wish I had. I wish I had a DeLorean to take me back to about January last year, and I would have bought stock in Zoom and plexiglass.
Yep,
plexiglass absolutely. And Zoom. That's where my money would have gone.
Face masks, everything.
Yeah. So then it morphed into that, and then I said, well, I started doing my own this People in Your Neighborhood podcast right as soon as kind of things shut down. I said, there's no excuses now. I can't. I've got these ideas for doing a podcast, but there's all the barriers that were up are now gone. Now if I don't do it, it's my own fault. And actually, one of my bands was doing a podcast called Cheap Flight. And the reason it was called Cheap Flight was one was in Texas, one was in Milwaukee, and one was in Toronto. So it was a cheap flight. It saved them a whole lot of money by just doing a podcast.
Right.
And so I got on their podcast, and we actually recorded a project during this last year and a half. But I got into it, and I was bit. I was in this podcast, and we were having a great time. And so I said, there's people in my neighborhood, in my life, that have done some really cool things. And so I just started asking friends, who are all home, do you want to talk about what you're doing? And we've had some great fun with that. Leading up to this year, it just made sense to do a 20 years of 24 podcast. Thinking initially we'll get maybe 4 or 5 people involved from the show. We'll stretch it out over the next 8 months, and then maybe we can do the convention. And then Justin got involved.
Yeah.
And then Justin's a fireball. Justin asked me, who do you want to get on the show? And I listed off a couple people, and we had them within like a week.
Yeah, and those who don't know Justin, he is, I think, was it Howard Gordon, actually, during
yes.
who's one of the writer and executive producers of the show, said he's probably the biggest 24 fan in the world, which I know those that actually know me personally are probably like, really? But no, this guy, he's crazy as far as his passion for the show.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So then it ramped up the show by, we've talked to 40 people. Like I just talked to Reiko Aylesworth last week, which was our 40th guest. That was either cast or crew from the show, which, again, I was looking at maybe 10 maximum, right. And now we're at 40, and we're still going. We're starting to book some stuff for the fall. So it's just, it really has blown my mind, the receptiveness of, and the graciousness of the people that were involved in the show, and how excited they are to talk about it this many years later.
And that's one thing I've noticed about just everybody that's been involved in 24 has been super gracious. I know on your end, and I know just in general, they just love talking about the show 20 years later. Yeah. Like the people, like I know Leslie Hope, that was one of your first guests that you,
yes,
the first episode that you aired, but she hasn't been in the show in 20 years. So,
right,
for her
right.
to still actually be like passionate and enough to actually join the show is very awesome. Do you personally have? I know Kiefer was like a bucket list item for you, or
yes,
a bucket list person for you to interview, I should say. Who is your favorite? Do you have a favorite interview you've done so far, or do you like them all in certain ways, like children? You don't have a favorite, but
I honestly, I thought about that too today because it's like, do I really have one that I think was? Each one has been unique in its own way and has been fun in its own way. Like Alicia Cuthbert, like I'm a big fan of Happy Endings, which is a show she did after 24, and I wasn't sure if she was going to be willing to talk about it. I wasn't sure if it was going to fit into what we were doing, and she was amazing. Like honestly, Alicia Cuthbert was so engaged and so excited, and she said I was so young when the show started. Like it really kind of helped me in my career, but also helped me understand the business more. Talking to Katie Sackhoff was another really, really fun interview that we couldn't talk about The Mandalorian, but
right.
We talked about everything else she's done because she's done a whole lot of stuff. So I don't know that I really have a favorite because each one has its own flavor. With James Morrison, for example, we started talking about the philosophy of acting, and it really became like a master class in acting. Which was a different flavor than some of the other ones I've had. So I don't know. It's just been a crazy ride.
Yeah, and listening through it, like you said, I know Alicia Cuthbert actually was one of my favorite interviews as well. And I know John Cassar, for me personally, his DVD feature, for those that have the DVDs that watch the actual special features, his documentaries and his commentary on the show is just masterclass. He's amazing. What was your one moment in the show that you were watching where you're like, this show's different? That's something I always ask, because it's funny, if you ask different 24 fans, everybody has a favorite moment, a favorite scene, a favorite season, and you might get 10 different answers. If you're like, hey, rank the seasons for me, like, what's your favorite season? You would get 10 different answers, which most shows don't have that luxury. Everybody knows certain, most shows have a specific season that's like, okay, this is by far the best season. What moment or what season of 24 is your absolute favorite?
I'm going to be difficult because I've got 2, and they both happened in the first season. I don't know if it's absolute favorite, but certainly the ones, as you said, that got me hooked that said this show is different than anything else I've ever seen. And the first was what I call the Alan York moment. When Janet is in the hospital and you've spent half the show invested in this father who's trying to find his daughter, and you've gone, I think it was 8 or 9 hours at that point, and this guy is he just wants to find his daughter. He doesn't know where she is. She's out with Kim, and then she winds up in the hospital, and she's lying in the hospital, and Dad goes in to see her, and the first thing that Janet says to the guy who's clearly not her dad is, "Who are you?" Yeah. And I remember just like, and again, this was like, it wasn't like I could pause it and freak out. I had to kind of sit to the end because that was pretty much the end of the show. But I was like, are you kidding me? You really have taken us on this literal ride in the man's car? We've trusted this man for all these hours, and he's not even who he says he is.
Yeah, that was one of the top ones. I think that is actually one of the first big twists in the show.
Yeah. My jaw was just on the floor, and I was like, this isn't TV like I've ever seen. And then the second one was David Palmer when, can't think of her name, his assistant came into the office and basically was trying to seduce him. Patty, yes, thank you. And Patty came in with the purpose of seducing him, and with the full blessing of Sherry, and came in, and you've seen this scenario before. You've seen politicians do exactly, make the wrong choice in this moment. And when he said, "Get out, you're fired," like that was another, to me, was a thing that differentiated the show from anything else I'd ever seen, because it was like, oh wow, he actually made a choice of integrity.
Yeah, and I mean, and most characters in television, like you said, would have fallen on the sword there. Because I mean, Sherry was trying to, obviously get him to do something he shouldn't probably be doing.
Right.
But is season 1 considered your favorite season because it got you into the show, or do you have a favorite season?
I think so. I say the same thing about this one. I say about American Horror Story, is that first season was, both those first seasons were so jarring. From a trust standpoint, like you just, like I said, you trust the filmmaker, you trust the director, you trust the story, and then when they pull the rug right out from under you, right in the middle of it. Right.
And I think the premise of 24 was just a unique premise, and I mean that's what got it for me. Like, I'm one of those fans. Like, I think the odd number seasons for me are my favorite. Like 1, 5, 7, and 9. Live Another Day.
Yeah.
Those are my personal favorites, and then some people will be like season 2's their all-time favorite, but that's I mean, I think the moment that got me into 24 was, besides having a cliffhanger every single episode. I mean, most shows, I mean, NCIS, they have a beginning, this is the pull to get you into the show. Okay, you have the whole episode, you finish, and then by the end of the episode, they've pretty much solved the problem. And that's why I like, and nothing against NCIS or fans of that, but I personally, that's not. I was like, it's very boring. It can get very boring really quick. But I think Terry getting them actually killing her was what got me to be like, the show is different. The other thing I love about it is how every season was like a reboot in a way. Like, you have new cast members every single season. There's been a time jump, which I love that there's a time jump every season. I mean, obviously they couldn't have done 24 days in a row or whatever right after each other, but it was very, very well done, and that's pretty much what I think got me to be like, wow, this show is special. This is something I'm going to probably love for the rest of my life. So, well,
I mean, speaking of that scene too, I mean, it was a personal thrill to be able to ask Kiefer directly about that scene, because the rumor had always been that he didn't like that ending. And I'd heard that for years, but I heard it from different interviews we had done. But to ask him directly how he felt about Terry dying, and he said, he said the comment was, I went to the head of Fox and I said, we can't do that, and I want my position noted for the record. And then her response was, what record? We're not in court. What are you talking about?
It's like in baseball when they do the I'm playing this game under protest. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Thanks.
Yeah. And he really was the anchor. He continued to be the anchor of the show for sure. But yeah, it was just kind of funny to hear from him directly. Yeah, I didn't like that ending at all, and I thought that was going to be the end of the show. And instead, what that moment did was it gave you reason to watch season 2, the first episode, and then season 3, and then season 4. Because if you're willing to do that, if a show's willing to take it that far, you have no idea what they're going to do next.
Right.
which is pretty amazing.
Right. Yeah, and the character development, I think, in the show is just top notch.
Yeah.
You watch Jack Bauer from his first scene, having chess with Kim, to where he ends in season 9 and Live Another Day. It's total night and day, which is great.
And it's crazy too. What 24 has done for me too is that it creates a level of excellence that I see. Okay, Glenn Morshower's doing The Resident. Okay, I'm going to watch The Resident.
Right.
I may not be interested in it, but I may get into it because I know that there's a cast member from 24 that's involved.
Yeah.
Or the show Nashville is another good example. There are multiple people, from Connie Britton to Jeffrey Nordling. All these people that were on 24 wound up on the show Nashville.
It's like playing a game when you're watching. Yeah, when you're watching television, like he was in 24.
Yeah,
he was in 24. Yeah. We always play that game. I was like, who was that? Even bit characters. Someone that was maybe playing random terrorist in season 2. You're like. Yeah. Oh, okay, I remember him. He was in 24. Yeah. I don't remember who he played. Let me go look that up on IMDb real quick.
So, right. I mean, there's so much TV out there that I need to have some kind of filter that says, okay, this one's worth checking out, this one's not. And 24 is kind of that meter for me. So
right.
I'm a little obsessed. I
am too. I mean, as you see behind me, for those on watching this,
I love
YouTube,
it.
I also have a 20 years of 24 cup here that I purchased, so that was also great and
awesome.
Like I said, thank you.
Looks
for
good.
Part of the podcast. I appreciate it.
It looks like it fits in the collection really well.
Oh yeah, it does. It does. So, what is your thoughts on a possible? I know Justin has been passionate about this.
Yeah,
We've talked about it some off camera and stuff. The 24 revival. Do you see 24 in any sense of the word coming back, whether it be a movie, whether it be a television show, book, comic book, whatever? Do you see it? I'm in just for personal reasons, I think it will. I think whether it's 3 years, 4 years from now, I believe in some way it will come back in some form of media. I believe it will. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts have been tempered by the interviews we've done over the last several months, too, because it's been several years since Live Another Day. Yeah. We're talking 7 years now, somewhere in there?
Yeah, 7 years. Yes.
Yeah, 7 years. So it's been a while since Live Another Day. And I remember seeing an interview, and I can't find it to save my life, but there was an interview. The Hollywood Reporter does these roundtables. And they brought together John Hamm from Mad Men, Breaking Bad, can't think of his name, but they had all the kind of the lead actors from all these different shows, and there was a round table and they could ask them questions, and Kiefer was one of the people in that discussion. Mm-hmm. Bryan Cranston. So they're all talking about their shows, and there's one point where Kiefer stops and he says, because they're all talking about doing 10, 12 episode seasons, and this is before Live Another Day, and they're having this conversation, and he stops and he says, well, how many do you do? And John Hamm's like 10, 13, and he went around the room and everybody was doing it between like 8 and 13 episodes, and he went, I got to rethink this, or something like that. He had this real revelation. Like it's like the light went on in his head. Like, why are we doing 24? Like in season 1, yeah, that was. If you look at Kiefer in the first episode, he's kind of a baby. Like he's a young. I'm 52 and I can't do half of what I could do 2 years ago. So I don't feel, and again, this won't be popular among the fans, but I don't think expecting a 24 show with Kiefer full time is reasonable, and he's not the kind of person, the character you want to see behind a desk either, right?
Right.
Like if they bring 24 back and Jack Bauer's behind a desk for 80% of the show, fans are going to lose their minds on that.
Right.
I think what you could do, and I believe this is my theory, and if Fox is listening, we want to get some compensation for these ideas that we keep throwing around on the podcast.
Absolutely.
a Star Wars story, Rogue One, right? So they didn't make it part of the original 9. They made it a separate, so that they could call anything, a Star Wars story, and they could spin it off into a different direction.
Right.
I think one of the issues with Legacy was Legacy, right?
Yes, 24 Legacy.
Yes, 24 Legacy.
2017.
Was that they didn't call it a Star Wars story, a 24 story. If you had said it's a 24 story, then the fans wouldn't have said, "Oh, we expect Jack Bauer's going to come back." So I think if you had almost like a 24 universe, almost like an MCU, where you have different stories that kind of operate around the CTU universe, I think you could do it. And then I think you could have Jack Bauer make an appearance.
Right.
I think that certainly was something that could work in the long run. Like I said, it's if you watch those episodes now, it's extremely physical, and Kiefer does a lot of his own stunts.
Yeah, I know he said in his interview with you, he said he's like, I know you asked him, or Justin, I think, asked him, would you be willing to come back and do 24?
Yeah.
And he says, I just hope they do it before I have to have a cane, because I mean, he is getting up there in age, so.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch The Fugitive, I recommend anybody finds The Fugitive. It was physical, but it wasn't physical to the same level that Jack Bauer was.
Right.
Like, he did a lot of running, a lot of fighting, but it wasn't to the same level. It was probably to a level that he was comfortable with.
Right, I know he broke a couple bones, I think, making season 2, the fight scene, he got hit in the face with a gun that went off and everything. So I mean, he the thing about Kiefer, I mean, he is a very physical actor, but like you said, it's been 20 years. He's in his 50s now. So I mean, again,
yeah. And the thing is too is pushing back to our podcast. The idea is that the more we talk to people from the show, you can hear them get excited about the possibility of doing something again. It's like you could, like, we're starting the engine again, and they're talking about it, and they're really nostalgic about it, and they're like one of my favorite moments of doing the podcast was when John Cassar said, "Is it okay if we keep talking?" Like, I was trying to be careful of his time. I don't want to overextend my welcome, and he stopped and he said, "Oh, can we keep going? This is fun." I'm like, yes.
Yeah, and that's why you had to cut it into 2 episodes, I saw. So.
Yeah. So that was, again, to me, that means I'm doing something right with this podcast that we're doing. But to hear the nostalgia and to hear people get excited about the show again after 20 years, I have a hard time believing that they're not just going to sit on that now. That we may have been involved in stirring something up, even in some minimal way. If we have any part in helping to get this thing up and running again, I'd be very happy about that.
That would be awesome.
As they've said, the story has to be as good, if not better, than the original, right? Nobody wants to see it come back and you go,
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I think with Legacy, like I said, I actually enjoyed Legacy for what it was.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know gave it no chance because, Jack Bauer wasn't in it. And the way I looked at it, and I even had conversations back in 2017 when it came out with fans of, give it a chance. Nobody knew what 24 was in season 1. Nobody cared, okay, Kiefer Sutherland, he's a movie actor, whatever, he's doing a television show, nobody cared. But then you didn't know that character until they built up on it. And I thought it was a good character. I mean, so
I agree.
I just didn't feel it didn't get the chance it deserved.
So I agree.
Is there anything else, Ryan, that you would like to plug?
I have no problem doing that. I mean, Go Tell Someone podcast is, like I said, the network of podcasts that I mentioned right at the beginning. They're friends that were doing cool stuff. It sounds impressive, but really, we've got one called Check the Credits. That's my friends reviewing albums, an artist's worst album. We have a fantasy sports league podcast on there. We have one called Average Jerks. Go Tell Someone podcast. There's something for everybody there. It's really cool and really unique, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. We're actually adding yours and another one this week to the network. So we're building it based a little bit on the Funny or Die model a little bit, and I can't think of Scott Aukerman's podcast. Anyway, the idea of creating just a mall, making a hub, and people can go and find. Because, I mean, some of my favorite podcasts are Mark Maron, Michael Rosenbaum, Inside of You. Like, there's just some great podcasts out there. And all I want to do is help the people that I know, the people in my neighborhood, to promote our podcast more and help people that like mine. They might like yours. They might like some of the other ones that are on there. So that's really the heart of that.
Awesome. So thank you, Ryan, for so much for joining me. And I look forward to listening to all of your ventures. You've been, like I said, a great friend to me. You were helping to inspire me doing this in the first place. I was something I've been wanting to do for a while now. So I really appreciate the support and for coming on.
That makes me feel good.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And absolutely. I look forward to talking to you soon.